Hello, YouTube world.
Hola.
Yesterday.
1, 2, 1, 2.
4, 6.
Where's my snare?
Coming up today on the flagship, we got our contest winner. We're talking about the Coinbase Black Rock thing, Dash in Venezuela, the Nasdaq, Brazil's National Museum fire, some rants. I got a couple rants for y'all. We got dogleash rants, prices, proud of something, and we got a couple more mailbag questions than usual on the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Basic Podcast. Today's episode is Friday flagship number 37, and this is being released on Friday, September the 14th, 2018. For those of you unfamiliar with the Friday flagship, this is our weekly episode where we discuss the news, current events, and all the nonsense that gets tossed around in the cryptocurrency space. Joining me today are my two co-hosts in crime, Brent Philbin and Karim Baruque.
I know crime.
Right, you're from Colombia.
Yeah, I'd like to believe that's true. However, let's get on to some announcements this week. Gentlemen, Karim, you are the contest winner. Congratulations. So, Karim, like I was saying, congratulations. You won.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Bitcoin for just being stable and amazing. I would like to thank Ethereum for waiting until the contest was over to go on its massive drop. That was very thoughtful. And most of all, I would like to thank my co-hosts for both designing this contest and making such terrible choices, allowing me to lose 70% of my value and still win. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
That was it? That was your whole speech?
Yeah.
Man.
Brent's would have been 45 minutes long.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it would have.
We're taking the whole episode. So y'all are lucky.
Well, I can't brag too hard. Here's the thing. If one of you guys would have won, it would have been like, oh, shit, look, I picked these obscure coins. So, it kind of seems like an amazing pick, but I literally just picked like 5 of the safest picks, so it is what it is.
I think it would be much easier to brag if you had made 10% and won the contest, but I don't know. There's a big part of it is like losing the least is a skill, but like I don't feel proud of that as much as I would feel proud of actually like performing better. Does that make sense?
I'm pretty sure I performed better. If you measure it mathematically, I performed better. Statistically, I performed better.
Math is idiotic.
So I got
Brian, it looks like you have some little stats here.
Yeah, I got a couple stats about the contest.
Cool.
We the coins that we picked, to remind everybody, Karim, what were yours?
I picked Bitcoin. I picked Ethereum, Cardano, Neo, and Dash Digital Cash.
And Mike, yours?
My picks were Bitcoin, Neblio, COS, Divx, and Dragon Chain.
And I picked Stellar, Gas, Bitcoin Private, Bitcoin Private, and Nano and Icon. So those were all our portfolios. If you weren't actually following along with that, so Karim won. Mike came in last. We know that. I actually had the best performing coin. Stellar only lost about 30% of its value over the course of the contest, so I picked that. Bitcoin was in second with about 35% of its value down for the whole contest. I also had the worst performing coin with Bitcoin Private at no fucking surprise at minus 93%.
Wow.
One thing, a little bit of a game theory thing that I did was pick Gas, since I knew that Karim would pick Neo because I thought it would outperform. It did. It did slightly outperform Neo, so at least I did that correctly. And that was kind of all the stats that I gathered there. But
I have a fun little exercise real quick. Karim, if we started this contest over, would you change any of your picks? And if so, which ones?
I I think the only one I would really consider changing is the one that I considered changing a while ago, which was Dash. I think there's plenty of room for other projects. I'm a fan of Ontology. I'm a fan of Horizon.
Good job. Wow. I would have called it Zencash. And if I had picked Zencash, which was Pivx, Zencash, Z Classic were kind of like in the mix there for my privacy stuff, I would have won. So, sorry, Rob, I let you down.
Oh, wow. Imagine. Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
I remember going through and looking back, and because the only thing Brent wanted to change was Bitcoin private, and if he switched that to Pivx, he still would have lost.
Yeah, I would have had to switch it to Zen.
Of course.
Mike,
if you could have changed your 3 worst coins into something else, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, imagine.
You're right. Sorry, Rob, he let you down.
If you take his worst performing 5 coins and replace them with the best performing 5 coins, and you kept our portfolios the same, Brent would have won. Did you know that, Mike?
No, I'm pretty sure I looked at.
That's just how Brent's mind works. I mean, we had a little situation before we got on air where his details are very linear.
Hey, he's getting ready for the episode, and he's like, all right, so I got some statistics. I was right about a coin that outperformed another coin. That's very important overall.
He's like, yeah, guys, here are the important stats. I was better than Karim with Stellar. I was better than Karim with Gas.
But I didn't win.
No, listen.
I would have won.
Y'all want to do your own research and pick your own statistics? You're welcome to. I think Zen would have actually performed better than Stellar, so it would have definitely.
Horizon would have.
I think so. I remember looking at it pretty quickly. It's had a really steady value.
What would you change if you could change? If you did this again, what would you change?
I would get rid of
back in time.
Yeah, no, I would get rid of Bitcoin Private and I would replace it with a project that isn't a piece of shit, like any project. Like that, I would definitely put Zen in the portfolio, so it would probably just be an easy swap for that. I still like all of the other coins that are in there.
What is Zen?
Horizon.
Okay, fair enough.
But no, it's still called Zen.
Oh my god, you guys!
I would probably have a pretty big makeover. I would keep Bitcoin, and I would draw 4. Those of you that know me, I would draw 4.
Yeah. That's funny.
All right, so we do want to remind you guys. We could have included a piece of news in the Friday flagship about Gemini launching a Tether competitor. But we covered that on Stablecoins episode that was released on Wednesday. So go back and check that out. And we highly recommend that.
In the meantime, we are going to talk about 2 more things. One, we're going to draw the winner here. And the winner
We're about to announce Mike's punishment, so he left. Just ran away.
All right, real quick, funny story. There was a piece of hair on my screen that was right on Brent's face for the entire time we've been recording, and I finally decided to wipe it off, but like my swipe on my screen just closed. It sent my browser backwards.
Oh.
So
all right. So as I was saying, we're gonna draw the winner live. Karim, what is our winner gonna get?
Well, our winner, Brent, is first going to have his option of our monthly price. Him or her. They're going to have the opportunity to win either a piece of Crypto Basics swag, which we will send to you, or you can choose to select a topic for our next 101 concept or coin, or you can ask each of us a question for the flagship. But since you are the overall winner, we haven't drawn. We're about to draw live. Brent is already sharing his screen. This is exciting stuff. He's on randompicker.com or whatever it's called.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah. But here's the grand prize. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. Half an Ethereum.
Boom.
From the Crypto Basic podcast.
At one point, that was valued at $700.
Yes.
We are just giving things away at the Crypto Basic podcast.
Listen,
we love you guys. Thank you for being part of our competition. This $700 value will be to...
All right, here we go. See this?
Hey, and all kidding around aside, this is like probably like 30 to 40% of Crypto Basics net assets. We're really trying to go here.
I thought it was more than that.
Yeah, we just happen to love the audience and want to reward whoever's been
All
here.
right, here comes. Please wait. The drawing has been successfully completed. Click here to see your results.
Oh my god, I want to see.
Uh-oh. Who's it going to be? Live on air.
Light years.
Light years.
You just won half an Ethereum. If, of course, they don't get to us by next week, we'll draw another winner or something. But pretty sure most of these people are active in the Discord. Light years, congratulations. You also can pick one of the 3 things for winning the weekly contest. So,
guys, can I say something? I just want to say that I love a lot of our supporting staff, but I'm really glad that wasn't like one
another
like
personal friend of ours.
Yeah, or like when Crypto Candor won our contest is like no, we love you, Crypto Candor. Don't worry.
Yeah,
don't worry. She was on my team, so she won the only one she had a chance to win.
Can't win because she picked incorrectly.
Man, I remember she loved your portfolio. She was all about it.
Yeah, I mean, I love my portfolio too. I just didn't love Bitcoin Private.
Yeah, you did. We fought about it for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
we literally begged you not to pick Bitcoin Private. That's the sweetest thing about this whole thing. That we begged you not to pick Bitcoin Private, and the irony is completely. And then he tried to get his switch. Remember that, Mike? Halfway through, he's like, "Hey guys, maybe what do you say? Maybe I should just get the redraw."
It's not that big a deal, right?
I wanted to fork
portfolio. All right, should we get on to some news?
All right,
I would love that.
I don't think we've talked about Mike's punishment.
Ooh.
So we can't go to the news yet.
That part is really not that big a deal.
Man, Kareem's trying to run by it. Mike was ready to let him go. He's like, yeah, we're going to the news. It's news time.
All right, here comes the punishment. The sentenced will now listen to his sentence. Michael Lockie, you have been found guilty of terrible choices for portfolio picking. How do you plead?
Guilty.
No, he's been found guilty. He doesn't need to plead anymore.
Oh yeah, good point.
You're mixing up 2 governments, Kareem.
At least you recognize the error of your ways. All right, so your punishment, Michael. So here's the situation. We originally got inspired by a Reddit story about a guy that said that if Bitcoin didn't get to a certain price or something, he was going to drink a bottle of ketchup.
I believe it was 2 months ago. He made a post in their daily comment chatter thread or whatever. He said if Bitcoin doesn't hit 3,700 by September, he would drink a bottle of ketchup.
Wow.
That guy has since deleted his account, by the way. Like
he disappeared.
Yeah, he gone.
Fucking shady scumbag alert.
Exit scammed the fucking ketchup.
Exit scam.
Order in the courtroom. The sentenced will speak when spoken to. Michael, are you ready for your sentence?
Yes, sir.
All right. In order to represent Mike's portfolio, his punishment will be 5 mini versions of that ketchup challenge, and each bottle will represent one of your choices. For choosing Divx, a red logo, you will drink a small bottle of ketchup. For picking Dragon Chain, a dragon, you will drink a small bottle of Tabasco sauce. For your choice of
cost. How small is small?
About 4 ounces.
Oh, man.
About 350.
About 350.
About 350. For choosing costs and exchange nobody's ever heard of, you will have to drink a bottle of some knockoff brand that we don't know what it is yet. Nobody's ever.
But it has to be a knockoff brand.
It has to be a knockoff brand.
Like a Dollar Tree brand of something?
At best.
At best? Oh, man.
For choosing Neblio, a development team full of very white people, you will eat some horseradish.
Oh, Jesus.
And lastly, as a reward for picking Bitcoin in your portfolio. A reward for picking Bitcoin in your
So not all bad.
Bitcoin can only be represented by something stable and smooth and beautiful. And for me, that's rum, and Captain. So you will have 4 ounces of Captain Morgan. But here's the thing.
What's a normal shot size?
1.5.
1.5 ounces. So you're going to have like 2.5. Yeah. But here's the thing, though, real quick, because I love this part. The main lesson of this portfolio contest is that prices fluctuate randomly, and really we couldn't predict anything, right? So that bottle of that little shot of Captain, which will go down smooth compared to the ketchup and the Tabasco sauce that you're going to be drinking, you may get it last, you may get it first, because the order at which you consume these substances will be determined by random chance. That, my friend, is your sentence.
And we will either do that live or we will record it. We'll let you know, but it will go on YouTube.
We'll do it live.
Facebook Live seems kind of interesting for this.
Whoa.
Maybe.
You're onto something. We'll discuss.
All right, sweet. So if you guys want to watch me drink and eat a bunch of condiments, you know where to tune in.
I just realized we have a bunch of friends that probably don't even listen to the podcast, but that would love to see this.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly my suggestion.
Yeah.
I might as well just put this out in the world. Who cares?
Yeah.
I lost my shame years ago.
The court has found Mikey also to have good sportsmanship, which is why we took it easy with the captain and the Bitcoin.
Well, you know, after Serena Williams' performance this weekend, I was just inspired to maintain her level of sportsmanship that she provided.
Damn.
All right, so we're about 15 minutes in, and we haven't really talked about any stories yet. So I'm going to get this back on track. Brent, it looks like Coinbase and BlackRock are considering joining forces. Your thoughts?
Okay, as usual, the title was Coinbase and BlackRock are looking to join forces for a crypto ETF. BlackRock is one of the largest asset management firms in the world, so most people know them from the iShares ETFs on the stock market. So when you look for ETFs, they're all the little I and then shares. That's them. Originally, somebody posted this when we were doing our cryptocurrency roundup on Tuesday, and we said we didn't know enough to talk about it, so we didn't want to talk about it. Turns out it's basically fairy dust. There is not really anything there yet. Coinbase contacted BlackRock about an ETF, and they have a blockchain division. So, like, they made a call or an email or some shit. And they're not like they had a meeting or they're thinking about it or their departments have said, yeah, we're going to work together. Nah, they just, like, somebody knows somebody called somebody.
So one of the things that we ran into early on when we were, especially on the flagship, you know, because we record this sometimes on Wednesday, sometimes on Thursday. We're in much better rhythm now than we used to be. We used to get frustrated with missing stories from that day. We'd get frustrated with something we missed or something that we felt like we should have covered. But this is a great example of, like, even though that was something that came out and it could have been big news, it kind of would have been a waste of time to evaluate it. And that's what we like about letting a day or two go by, is that the story is given a chance to pass certain credentials through the audience. And when that happens, it makes our job a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about this, I know we've talked in the past about how, you know, you have to be very skeptical sometimes of journalism and headlines and everything. But I got to tell you, this space has really made me so jaded, I guess, because there's not that many spaces where the financial incentive is so strongly tied to the headlines, right? Like, one little headline can make somebody holding the right amount of a coin literally hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever. So it's just rough, man, because I've become super jaded. Anytime I see a headline now, I'm super skeptical, and I'll hint to that a little later in the podcast. Yeah. Or I'm just like, I don't know. I almost want excessive proof now.
Sure, of course. And I feel like I've learned that more from you guys in this podcast than I did, you know, going into this. But it really is like, prove it to me. When I see a title, I'm like, this is what the person writing this article wants this to be, but what is it really?
Right. And oftentimes don't forget that the person who writes the headline is actually a separate job from the person who writes the article, which would suck, by the way. If you write a good journalistic article, the headline is chosen, like, there's somebody else that just writes headlines. So you're like, oh man, that's
my response was the complete opposite. I was like, how do I get that job? I would be awesome at making titles and headlines.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be applicable. Yeah, they would be like, you won't believe
forces to create journalism. Fantastic Four, let's go.
Fantastic Fours The worst superhero team you could have picked. No, you're banned from writing titles. All the Fantastic Four movies have sucked.
I've also seen like none of them.
They're probably the worst superhero movies out there so far.
Good to know. So Karim, looks like we have an update from Venezuela and the Dash community. What is going on here?
Yeah, okay, so this one was really cool. It was a YouTube video that was posted by a guy that was in Venezuela. And of course, we've heard about Dash, we've heard about Nano in Venezuela, but we've always kind of been a little warm about it because just because there's a small community interchanging money in a cryptocurrency in Venezuela doesn't mean that it's like something big, like mass adoption, right? But this guy starts his video, and the title of the video is Paying in Subway with Dash, Caracas, Venezuela. So right off the bat, I'm like, all right, let me see the actual content of the video. Let me see how hyped up this is. The guy starts, he's not in a rinky-dinky Subway, like in a corner somewhere. He's at the food court in the mall, in like a nice mall. So right off the bat, that's even more interesting that a Subway at the mall is accepting Dash. The guy goes up to like order a sandwich. He's recording himself. And while he's there, the credit card system in the Subway, like the little thing, is out of order. And they show it and everything that they're not accepting credit cards, but they're accepting Dash. They have the little sticker and everything that says we accept Dash. The guy behind the counter just like pulls out his phone. He pays in like, a couple of seconds. And according to the guy at the Subway, now this part is hard to tell. I guess in theory it could be staged or something, but it looked pretty real. I saw the video a couple of times just to make sure. And the guy said that the entire credit card system was down for the entire mall. So you could only be paying either with cash or with something like this. Like in a mall in the capital of Venezuela. I don't know, man. Like this was one of the most convincing, impressive things that I had seen. And I just thought it was worth bringing up. Obviously, link to the video in the show notes.
So real quick comment. As I was following along in your notes while you're reading, and it says POS, and I kept thinking proof of stake instead of point of sale.
Oh,
so I was very confused. I was like, you mean the cashier said that the proof of stake cash systems don't work? What is this all about? I thought you were going to you were leading us to a good place, then you're going to change your mind at the end. But
right.
Yeah, that was a way more interesting version.
That's super cool that people are able to just use. That's what we picture cryptocurrency as, right? Like someday you go to a mall and Subway's like, yeah, bro, we don't want a credit card. We'll take the Dash though.
Yeah, and they're more dependent. Like this was like on a phone. It seems even more independent than even the credit card systems, where like the credit card system has to be, I'm sure, maintenance by the company, connected in a certain way. This is more like, okay, the owner of that franchise downloaded the app on a phone that he has at the register, and that's it. End of story.
Yeah, as far as like your Dash wallet can effectively be the exact same thing as a cash register.
Exactly.
Yep, that's super sweet. I wonder how much a Subway franchise costs in Venezuela. I know they're like $100,000 here. Are they like $10 in Venezuela?
I mean, it's probably not super expensive. It's probably not super profitable either, though.
But yeah, as my question maybe 3 months ago on this topic was, hey, Karim, shouldn't it be cheap to buy stuff there? And he's like, yeah, it would be really cheap, but then one day they might just take it from you. So like, that doesn't seem like it has a lot of value.
It's a good point.
The risk is factored in.
Right.
We're nationalizing all the Subways. They've been too profitable because they've been taking cryptocurrency.
All right, Brent, next story here is involving Nasdaq and trying to track crypto prices. What are your thoughts here?
Not track, predict crypto prices. So since we do this on YouTube now, we'll let Karim come back before I finish. Dude.
Well, he's not going to be that long.
This is those who, if I leave this in, those who are watching, this happens all the time. Karim just like the videos that you don't see, he gets up and pees just like in the middle.
Yeah, he's got to pee a lot. There's nothing he can do about it.
All right, welcome back. Okay, so the Nasdaq is not trying to just see the prices; they're trying to predict the prices going forward. So I almost actually skipped over this headline because I was like, well, this is stupid, right? Because like I don't have a lot of faith in technical analysis and all that shit. And one of my primary things is like, how are you going to do better than a computer is going to do? Like, I don't understand how my subjective view of triangles on a chart is going to be better than a computer.
Brent, before you go on, one of my thoughts, and I've heard you say that quite a bit on this show, and one of my responses is then somebody is going to be programming these bots to be more efficient. So if you're able to remove the resource of time from the equation, that's what bots are going to do. They're going to be able to do everything so much quicker and more efficiently than any human is going to be able to do. So what I'm liking about the start of this story is that we're going someplace where somebody could potentially be the one designing this software.
Yeah. So they already. Oh, go ahead.
Or they might not need to, which is another interesting part. Just as something to mention, like now that we even have deep learning, sometimes it might just be letting a machine process the data, see how it changes, and then start finding connections that no one designed it to find, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like we've noticed, the machines are even better at being doctors sometimes, at diagnosing the symptoms of what's going on with people. There was something recently where they saved like a small number of lives, but like it was people who the doctors had decided you should pull the plug on them because they weren't going to recover within a year of being on life support or whatever. And then they recovered. I can't remember.
That was a Chinese thing, right?
Yeah,
right?
It was a small number, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it was a low number, and it was a very small percentage, but it was non-zero. Like the
yeah, let's pretend it's one.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, that's a person, and they did wake up.
Yeah,
when people thought that they weren't.
So anyway. So I've actually sent an email to the team on this one to find out more about how this thing works, because it was behind a paywall. A lot of like the features. There was a demo video, but what they're using here, this thing is called it's called something. It's called like the something desk of Nasdaq or whatever. It's meant to predict future stock prices and stuff like that. But it's all machine learning, 100%. It's not a person doing this. It is an algorithm that has been programmed with all of the following information to figure out what it thinks prices of legacy assets are going to be in the future. Systemic exposure, news exposure, supply chain exposure, emerging tech, earnings quality, ETF references, social media sentiment, technical analysis, Twitter-specific analysis, quantitative analysis, the alpha of each individual thing, corporate filings, earnings, and I want to notice that only one of those 10 things I said was technical analysis. But they factor it in, and all of that is going to be factored into predicting future prices on legacy items and crypto items. And I will take this, whatever this is, without even knowing anything about how the algorithm works or what it's doing. I'll take whatever program this is versus your top 100 fucking crypto YouTubers that sit there and tell you about all the dragon patterns and stuff. So it's not ready yet, but
yeah, I feel very strongly on Brent's side of this. I believe that something like this absolutely could and will be difficult to beat as a human, and I believe that there's a very good chance this could be extremely, extremely successful and well for them. And honestly, like, this is why I pulled away from trying to learn too much from this perspective.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, they can sink tremendous resources into this, and ultimately, regardless of
Analytics Hub is what it's called. I just Googled it.
This machine learning tool is going to be called Analytics Hub.
They already have the Analytics Hub. The crypto part of it is going to be added. They started it in 2017, and it uses natural language processing to do this. So I'm pretty sure it's programming itself. I don't think people are programming it. I think it's learning on its own.
Well, it says machine learning, right?
Yeah.
So like the machine learning, the whole point of machine learning is really not that you're programming how it thinks, but that it's doing like either a neural network or kind of like a trial error type of thing. This is really interesting, and I think it's ultimately the way that things are going to go. Like, it's just a matter of time. Whether or not this is super successful tomorrow, next year, in 2 years, like, yeah, within 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, machine learning tools are going to get better and better. They have more processing power. Computers are going to be more powerful, more speed, more power, more everything. And, it's like a lot of other things, machines are going to get much better than humans. So this just seems like it's a matter of time, whether or not this is the story that proves it, I guess.
Karim, have you had a chance to watch the Joe Rogan and Elon Musk interview?
Not yet.
Oh,
I haven't.
Man. Oh, you're in for a treat.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say.
Brent, what about you?
I have not watched it yet. I've obviously seen the picture.
Do you plan on it?
Maybe. I don't know.
I was figuring Karim was probably in the yes and you were probably in the whatever.
I mean, I like Elon Musk a lot, and I've probably heard a lot of the stuff that he's saying. Like, I've read, like, kind of what he went over. He talked about, like, being in a simulation. He talked about, like, some of the stuff that he's putting forward for the future. Some people have even said that it was kind of cringy the first, like, 45 minutes because he's so much smarter than Joe, and he's kind of, like, spectrumy, that, like, Joe was having a real hard time following what he was saying and asking important questions. But, I don't know.
I think that response is a huge stretch. I mean, yeah, but, like, Joe's smarter than I am, so, like, it's over my head too.
Yeah. Oh, it would be tough for anybody.
Like, I mean, I'm already 2 full listens, start to finish through, and this is a 2.5 hour commitment, but it is amazing.
What's the only thing though that I do wish is because I'm a huge fan of Elon as well, but again, this is one of those areas where sometimes I feel like we take the opinion of one person who is an expert in something, and then we just apply it too broadly. And I think that Elon is just an example of that, where, like when he talks about, like, physicists, like theoretical physicists, have addressed his simulation theory, for example, and not his simulation theory or the one that he subscribes to, and it doesn't really have that much weight behind it. But people are like, well, it's Elon Musk. Like, okay, yeah, but just because you might be really good with spaceflight or propulsion or electrical cars doesn't mean that you're a theoretical physicist, an AI special, whatever, Of course, she's allowed to have opinions and all that. I'm just saying that I don't like the way that sometimes society gives too much weight to experts' opinions when they're opining about fields that is not their area of expertise.
Oh, of course. But here's the way I look at something like that is that I now went from, like, fractions of a percent to maybe like 1%. I've opened some doors a little more on several different topics that are a little more interesting to me now than they were. Or I got some clarity on some words that you hear a lot but don't know the full definitions of. It was just a lot of these concepts that were more theoretical but now have some more substance to them, to me.
Right.
And anywho, let's move on to crypto from around the world.
I still haven't figured out the soundboard, so.
Nice dance, man.
So last week, it was a little bit of a buzzer beater. I forget who brought up this story. Degenerate Brahmin. Okay, Degenerate Brahmin asked Karim his opinion on this story. It was a little too short a notice at the time. However, Karim has followed up with that request. What happened in Brazil?
Yeah, so you guys have probably heard by now that there was a big fire in the National Museum in Rio de Janeiro. So went to go look at a couple of stories just to give a more, figured that instead of a mailbag, it would be better as a news item so we can actually talk about what happened. So the museum, just to give you an idea, was founded 200 years ago while Brazil was still under Portuguese rule. And it had Egyptian stuff, like ancient Egyptian artifacts, Greek, Roman stuff. The really sad part about this whole story is that the museum had been having budget problems. They've been cutting its budget. And based on them not having adequate infrastructure, a lot of the scientists that worked with the museum or in the museum had begun as early as like 2004 saying, hey, this is really dangerous. There could be a fire here, because not only did they have poor wiring, they didn't even have sprinklers in the museum. They had no sprinkler system whatsoever. And on top of that, when the firefighters got there, the hydrants were they were basically ran dry too early because they weren't properly maintained. The fire unfortunately did consume a huge scientific collection between fossils, artifacts, archaeological, all that kind of stuff. We're looking at approximately 20 million items that could have been lost.
Damn.
20 million individual items?
20 million individual items between, now, of course.
Are they counting like every bone?
Well, it depends. It depends usually on how these specimens are found. Like a lot of times an intact skeleton would be considered maybe one item. But if you have, let's say, all you have is like a shoulder and a pelvis of some creature or some early human, you might consider that two items. But still, 20 million items across biology, archaeology, history. It's really sad. So to give you guys an idea of the kinds of things that were lost, this is just a few collections. They had a bunch of frescoes from Pompeii. Those are like the wall paintings where the colors are basically the way that it's made. It's built into the wall plaster itself. So those were probably lost. They had hundreds of Egyptian artifacts, including a 2,700-year-old sarcophagus. There were audio.
That's older than Jesus.
It is older than Jesus.
Jesus.
There were audio recordings of like indigenous languages that are not spoken anywhere anymore. So they had been captured like in the 1920s and 30s. When you went into the Amazon and found these tribes, you had people record them. Nobody speaks those languages. They're lost languages, and some of these were the only recordings.
How far back do audio recording savings go?
1800s?
Probably 1800s.
Really? I don't know why. That seems like...
But Mike,
storing so the telephone was early 1900s. Am I remembering that right?
Sounds about right.
And obviously that's way different technology, but the capturing of audio, my brain isn't really comprehending how they're doing that so early.
Well, I mean, think about like even the old school
1877 phonograph by
so especially
Thomas
early
Edison.
1900s. They already have that tech,
Learn something new every flagship.
And we have to think that really from like the late 1800s to like 1950, post World War II, you lose a ton of indigenous countries around the world because that's where like we've gotten everywhere, all the jungles, all the islands, all the everything. What else we've lost? There was a 3,500-year-old Chilean mummy, 1,800 urns, statues, and weapons from pre-colonial South America. So there's probably a few cultures in there. Could be Chibcha, Inca, whatever. Well, probably, I don't know how much Inca stuff there were in there. But anyway, dinosaur fossils, including there was one that had one of the best preserved muscle fibers, where the way that it fossilized, you could actually see the muscle fibers. So it was like a really valuable specimen. One of the oldest human specimens known as Luisa, which is a human that is... I didn't write it down here, but it was 11,000 years old.
Whoa, that's older than Jesus.
Great. That's 5 times older than Jesus.
It's 5J.
Yeah, 5 J's, 5 Jesuses. They had the best preserved collection of pterosaurs, the flying ones. They had the best one in the world, and that was lost.
Pterodactyls?
Pterosaurs.
Pterosaurs. Thank you, Brent. And they had like a really nice T-Rex skull that was also lost, and they lost a bunch of other stuff. They had tons of butterfly exhibits.
19.9 million other things.
Yeah, roughly.
Like 20 million. Yeah, exactly. The T-Rex skull was estimated to be something like 150 J's of age.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's probably a lot more than that. That was pretty bad math. But anyway,
the whole auditorium of Jesuses.
So, I think it's a double tragedy here. Number one, because it could have been prevented. This was just underfunded. This is the fact that, we have whatever. Every country has its specifics, but unfortunately, in a lot of countries, the sciences and cultural stuff is not really valued anymore. These guys have been underfunded for years. They've been claiming the alarm, saying, hey, we're going to have a fire. We're going to have a problem. We don't have the system to deal with it. They had even began a process to transfer a lot of these artifacts to other museums because they knew that it represented such a risk, but they didn't have the money to transfer the items. And, like these specimens, just important to think about, like they represent thousands of hours of thousands of scientists. Like you have the people who discovered them, who analyzed them, who studied them, who labeled them, who preserved them. So it is really sad. It's a big loss. one little silver lining. The museum, of course, because of lack of budget, hadn't begun preserving everything digitally, taking pictures. So WikiLeaks started like a drive where
Wikipedia?
they're saying it. It was Wikipedia. I don't know why I put WikiLeaks. Wait, was it Wikipedia? I want to say no. It was Wikipedia. Yeah, it was Wikipedia. Thank you, Brent. But Wikipedia started a drive to try to preserve it. So they're basically saying if you have gone to the museum, if you took pictures of any exhibits or anything, upload everything so we could start trying to, get as much as we can, preserve as much as we can. But overall, it is sad and it is a big loss, and we should preserve these things, and a lot of these things are waiting to be restudied in case anybody thinks like, oh well, we already got everything we could out of that information. Not really, because you could have a fossil that was found in the 1940s, studied, preserved, and now it's 60, 80, 70 years later, and with new techniques and new equipment, scientists from around the world could go and restudy these specimens and learn new things, and now we've lost a bunch of them. Obviously, luckily, we have a lot of that around the world, but this is still a big loss for a totally preventable reason.
Also, kind of interesting that you decided to say 60 to 80 to 70. That was an interesting order to put those numbers in. I heard that. I was like, wait, what? I don't think I've ever heard that before. But yeah, this sucks. I don't know if crypto could have saved this, but it's certainly, I don't know if it qualifies as crypto around the world. It's certainly around the world, but it's interesting.
I don't know if you noticed, I specifically in the title, I put
see it now
around the world. Today I labeled the category around the world.
Oh, you deleted?
I just added it in too when we were transitioning. I was like, you probably forgot.
I guess I missed it. Okay. I was also dealing with my dog being him. So
Cute. I'm not following this part.
It's just it's a different rant. It looked like this was under this.
I agree, but it's not.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to the rants for the week. Brent-topotamus, start us off.
All right. I've got a little rant. Like I was just saying real quickly, my dog was I was having to deal with him. So this is a dog-related rant. And it's just like a little microcosm for how difficult a road crypto still has, despite what we know about it. All right, how am I going to relate my dog to crypto? I understand this is like this big jump, right?
Rants don't have to be crypto related, do they?
It's like a dog, but on blockchain. Okay.
All right.
Puppy
mill.
It's like all right. It's like a crypto kitty, but it's a dog. No. Okay. So, we have this dog leash. Now we have two dog leashes. We have the regular ones with the little loop around them that you've seen before, and then we have the strictly better dog leash, the one that is variable. You've seen these. They're bigger. They fit perfectly in your hand.
They're retractable.
Yeah, the length changes, so it's not pulling. Your dog's not pulling on it and choking themselves. It changes length.
Retractable.
We get it.
Press and hold the button to stop it if you wanted to. Basically better than the regular leash in every single solitary way, right? When I'm here and either my dad or my girlfriend take out the dog, they always 100% of the time use the shitty leash.
Oh, that would tilt me.
Okay, and what I say is why don't you use the better leash? And they just say, I like this one better. There is no logical reason behind why they have not adopted the better technology, but I just like this one better. And every time, because he's got a little harness, so the leash stays kind of attached to it, I have to take off their shitty leash and put on my good leash. So
okay, so I was not convinced that I would have an issue with this at all until it created additional work for the proper leash. Now I also have an issue with it.
I have an issue with it from the beginning, and here's why. Because I think that the people who are using the shitty leash are only thinking about their experience because it's marginal or break even at best, or maybe it's a little more uncomfortable in the hand. But for the dog, it's a significantly better experience because he has freedom and he's not constantly being pulled. So it's kind of a selfish move to use the shitty leash if you have the retractable leash. I have a problem with it. Brent, your rant seems justified if you care about the dog.
Yeah, well, and also just technology adoption. That was the parallel I was drawing. Yes, it is way better for the dog, But the fact of the matter is that like not everybody is going to always use the better technology, no matter how much clearly better it is. And there's not even like it's actually harder for them to take like it's harder for me to take their leash off to put mine on. It's harder for them to take my leash off to put theirs on. They could just use mine and save a step. But they're not. They're actively going back to the worst technology and
it's 2 against 1?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, my dad never takes the dog out. Like,
right, fair.
You know, if he happens to be here and he happens to want to take the dog out, he does. But like JJ, almost always switches the leash, so it's very.
Just hide that leash.
Well, yeah, I could hide it, but then, well, you know what happens if that happens?
She buys a new one.
Blent, where's the leash? I hid it from you. No, you know, and then.
Actually, I have a really funny story about my dog that kind of fits in here. It involves the leash. So between Karim, Brent, and I, we have a total of 4 dogs that add up to about 40 pounds. And so my girlfriend's dog is 13 years old. He's a Yorkie. And he moves at a rate of about half a mile per hour at all times, which is great because that's about what I move. So a couple weeks ago, my girlfriend was out of town, and when I'm solely in charge of the dog, it's very smooth in general. You know, we have a lot of understandings. He gets me, I get him. Everything's good. So I walk up to the door one morning. I'm literally like fresh out of bed. I know it's the first thing I got to do, and this is not a routine I'm very good at, but I'm fresh out of bed. I find some shorts to put on. I don't even have shoes on. I don't have a shirt on. It's somewhere in the like 7:45 a.m. range. And what I did this time was I walked the leash in my hand all the way to the front door, and I decided to open the door so that I could lean down and set the leash on and then have the retractable leash just let him go freely. So for the first time of all time, I opened the door maybe like 2 inches, and he darts out at a zillion miles an hour. I've literally never seen him move this speed. Now, mind you, I've walked him without a leash before. He doesn't move faster than me. And I don't do that very often, but like super late at night, I don't find it a big deal. Now that he has a hurt leg, it's easier. But this caught me off guard so bad that I opened the door and I hear an old lady in the street shrieking, like screaming at the top of her lungs. And now my instincts, I am running full speed in just a pair of basketball shorts at an old lady at 7 a.m. at the street. And I catch up to the dog so the lady's like walking a like full-size poodle, like a 50-pound poodle or whatever. And my dog's all of 11 pounds at most. This lady is shrieking like death, and I am chasing this dog. And I get to him when he's like a foot away from the dog, and I'm able to grab him, but I trip and fall. So now I'm only in basketball shorts at 7 a.m. chasing a Yorkie and doing a full-on barrel roll in the middle of the asphalt.
Do you have any war wounds from that?
I don't, but it happened a few weeks ago, and I've had nobody to share that story with, and I'm happy that you guys get to listen to it. It was awful. Wow,
yeah, that sounds pretty bad.
That's amazing. So what did the old lady say? Like, get your dog under control, you fucking whippersnapper.
Exactly those words, Brent.
It's definitely a blur, but she was just very like, ugh. I was just like, also the leash was in my hand. I'm running with the leash in my hand, so it's like, I don't know, man. Like, cut me some slack there. It's a 10-pound dog. Like, he's not hurting you.
It clearly escaped.
Right. And like I made maximum effort to like stop it the whole time. I don't know. That annoyed me a lot.
I did have one time, I'll make this quick, but one time when I was still in Tampa, I ordered Chinese food, and this like lady comes in, and I open the door, and Ramses runs out barking. Again, miniature Dachshund, 9 pounds. Yeah, he's got a little bit of a bark, but you could just like kick him away, basically. And she's like freaking out, dude. She was like jumping and like screaming like, like I was like, like I think if she would have gone like, oh my God, I would have been like, oh, Ramses. But like her reaction was so over the top that I was like frozen in like, for real, bro? Like I was just like watching it happen. I couldn't stop it. It was like a train wreck. You just
I get that like there are plenty of people that don't like dogs, and I get that, but like I don't know. The lady in my story, she was walking a dog. Like, to me, I don't know.
No, but her dog's on a leash, and this dog comes running. I get it. Like, people get mad when your dog is off a leash. And
if I were her in this story, I would definitely be like, "Whoa, what's going on?" But like, I don't know. I feel like I could quickly assess the situation.
People get mad at other people for a lot of like random stuff. Like I've never walked Zorro with a leash, but we got in trouble in this neighborhood when we got here. Like he used to the way my dad originally used to walk him is he would open the door when he wanted to go, let him out. He would go out for like 15 minutes, walk around the neighborhood. He'd come back, bark at the door, and we'd let him back in. So like he's real easy, but like we have to put him on leash here. So anyway, that's that.
Karim, you got
not here all that often,
here?
but
yeah, so this was from a post on Reddit. I don't remember which subreddit. I think it was one of the Ethereum things, but he posted 8 months ago, and like whatever, he reposted to brag about it, but it was kind of funny. I wanted to rant a little bit about the types of comments that people were saying, just to put it in perspective right now that we're in a bear market, to use this as a learning opportunity. So when Ethereum was at 1,200, this guy goes on Reddit and makes a post and says something along the lines of like, hey, I remember when Bitcoin was around 1,200 and it fell down to 200. Be careful. Be careful out there. Just basically saying, don't go crazy. This isn't going to go up forever. These were some of the responses that he got at the time. Response number one, and whether or not it could happen again. Somebody wrote, fuck no, it couldn't happen again. Bitcoin dropped from 1K to 200 and crypto entered a multi-year bear market due to one event that couldn't possibly happen now. They're referring, I believe, to Mt. Gox.
Yeah, that's what I'm sure they're referring to. But why that person thinks that this can't happen again is beyond me.
Understood. Number two, no one thinks that 200 is possible again. Bitcoin crashed to 200 because of a hack in only one exchange.
One of the only exchanges.
In one of the only exchanges. Number three, sorry, but your metaphor doesn't apply here. Bitcoin crashed because of Mt. Gox. It also had a tiny market cap, centralized trading for the most part, and it was still relegated to nerds, criminals, and very early speculators.
Oh, what are we?
Okay, I love this comment right here because I think is very emblematic of the fact that you can just start making up whatever you want and making it sound right. Like, this guy doesn't have, we don't have like a real good analysis of what the competition of those people were or how it compares, or like he's just saying things that are true but don't necessarily indicate anything about the future or the price or the correlation or anything. And he's just like, oh, it was just nerds, criminals, and early speculators. Okay, well, what do you consider a nerd? What is an early speculator? Were they really all criminals? Like nobody else was using big? Like, it's just ridiculous stuff, you know. And on my favorite comment, somebody wrote, "Someone banned this guy."
Yep, that's what our Bitcoin subreddit would have done.
Exactly. So the reason why this is an opportunity is because when times are good, people just will make themselves believe whatever they want. And they're very critical of anything that says, maybe not, we don't know, this could be overvalued. And you should not fall into that trap. I know that if you listen to Crypto Basic, you probably don't, because we talk about this stuff all the time. But this is just such a perfect example. You know, it's a little subreddit, it's a community, but it becomes an echo chamber because when somebody comes in with a totally rational point and says, hey, be careful, don't overextend yourself because this upward trajectory won't continue forever. People respond with anger. People respond with, ban this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Your metaphor is bullshit, because they don't want to believe it. So I guess that's my rant. Let's be humble. Let's remember the markets always fluctuate. Never spread yourself too thin. Don't expose yourself to excessive risk. Like, these are basic concepts that don't disappear just because we're excited about a new technology.
My quick thoughts are, back 8 months ago, I probably would have been in the camp of, I don't think 200 is very likely or possible, but of course I know that anything's possible. And, you know,
I would have bet against it.
I definitely would have bet against it pretty heavily. But at the same time, like, what are prices right now? We're so early into everything. The money moves in so many directions. Like, we have concerns about maybe, you know, a lot of this is ICOs cashing out. A lot of things, you know, it's just a bear market. There's so many factors that are beyond our comprehension that things go in what can only be known as random to us. And, you know, I would have said, if I would have probably said it wouldn't go below 600, but like, well, who am I? My opinion doesn't matter, but it's just an opinion.
We don't know shit. And as I've been saying from the beginning, unlike companies, we don't have ways to really measure what these assets are worth. Okay. Like, yes, we can argue about whether or not Tesla is overrated or overpriced. We can argue about Google. We can argue about any stock, but at least there is a entire process that has been developed over decades, right, by experts. And there are tangible things like your assets on book, your, you know, how much debt you have, your income, your sales, your overhead, your et cetera, et cetera. When it comes to blockchain, these projects are so young that we really don't know. Some people will be like, oh, well, we use Metcalfe's law and measure the value of the network. Okay, well, yeah, maybe, but it's a little tenuous. We don't really know, especially if a lot of that network is just speculators or people that aren't going to transact. Or in the case of Ethereum, if a bunch of those dApps don't really work or aren't really providing value, are we going to have adoption, et cetera, et cetera. Bottom line is, this is going to be a very long process. It's going to take a lot of maturity, but we don't know where we stand, and we're just learning how to evaluate these networks. So going back to Brent's comments about the YouTubers that are like, oh, wow, look at this. Neo is really underpriced.
Brent reads CoinMarketCap on our YouTube channel if you want to get an idea of what we think of the other crypto YouTubers.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that something is cheap because it was more expensive a month ago is not a very solid rationale. We don't know. Right now, you look at Ethereum, and it could be very cheap, and it might not be.
Could be overvalued.
It might still be overvalued, and we're still correcting.
And there's no evidence that the markets are correct. And there's no evidence that even if we come up with a decent evaluation, whether it's higher or lower than the current market, we have no time frame where it's going to reach its current value, or we have no idea where this is heading. It's, you know, one of the things that we talked about, I want to say maybe 2 months ago, it was some kind of mailbag question regarding mass adoption. And that has kind of stuck with me for a long time. And I'm starting to notice like how many really basic things that myself and others don't do that they should. Great example, Brent, with the leashes, man. Like, how do you get mass adoption in your own home with a strictly superior leash? We can't force the entire world to accept blockchain, man. And my big fear is that people aren't going to be willing to take the time to see what it's all about. And I think that's a very real possibility.
CZ tweeted out, and it's a bit of a generalization, but he said, I don't know anyone that fully understands blockchain that doesn't believe it's the future. Which is, you know, there are probably some people that fully understand it that disagree. But I agree that most people that I finally like explain bottom up what blockchain is and how it works tend to think, wow, this is actually really cool. But so few people know that it's tough.
Okay, I'll give you a great counter argument. I don't know hardly a single thing about cloud computing or using clouds or using these things. And this is a very useful technology that I have never taken the time to be familiar with, even though I bet it could improve my life in many ways. There's no part of me that's going to say that cloud technology isn't super useful and beneficial, but I don't know. I'm not going to help support the mass adoption of that.
Yeah, you kind of do.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, time
Dado Drive.
This is where
Google Drive.
Yeah, this is where I disagree. Like, it's not about people choosing to adopt this technology. It's about this technology becoming so essential and integral to many of the things that you use that you automatically adopt them. Again, with the internet, I don't think that a lot of people made the conscious decision of, you know what, this internet thing is starting to look really cool, I'm going to get involved. No, you just little by little, your life starts becoming like more and more relevant, more entertainment on the internet, more games, more connections, more work. So when you talk about cloud computing, like Brent said, we have to use cloud computing for this podcast. We use it with Data Drive. And more importantly, the people that have to share information become more and more forced. That's going to happen with crypto, in the sense that, yes, of course, this is going to play a role in the future, and it'll slowly and slowly become more and more essential to more and more groups. However, it's important to remember that we can be right about the fact that crypto is the future and still be in an overvalued market, just like Tesla. Electric vehicles are the future. I don't care what anybody tells me. For sure, electric vehicles are the future. Of course they are. We need to go off of fossil fuels. However, is it possible that Tesla's overpriced? Of course it is. 100% it's possible that stock is overpriced and it might never live up to its expectations. The same can happen to tons of crypto projects. And, you know, we just have to go through the traditional rules of investing. Invest in what you believe in. Try to like make sure you manage your own portfolio, manage risk. Just if something just went up a bajillion percent in 6 months, pretty good chance that it could go down a bajillion percent in 6 months because the variance going up is indicative of the variance going down.
More so about the point that I was trying to make about actual mass adoption for blockchain technology. It's more the point I was trying to make is that we might be 20 years out. We might be a real, like, I agree. I'm in the camp that I certainly believe this has every possible option of taking over many sectors, replacing a lot of technology. I think this is a fantastic thing for the future. I'm just worried about how long it's going to take. And I want people to know that, like, I think it's possible that in like 2030, Bitcoin's like 5,000. Now, I think that's very unlikely, and I'm not willing to bet on it. But like, I can't sit here and confidently say that that's not going to happen.
Right.
It could also be $100,000 in 2050. But it might take that long to see any relevant returns. But I do, and obviously that's also assuming that Bitcoin still remains a dominant force, which me and Karim more so believe that could still happen. Brent, I'm a little unfamiliar with your stance there.
I don't know. I've gotten more bullish on Bitcoin than I was when we started the podcast because it stopped being shitty. But like it's and it still now has the biggest market dominance. But if it didn't fix itself from the real big bear market there or bull market there when it was like $50 to send Bitcoin, it would have been taken over by Ethereum. But it did. It fixed. So it's the interesting thing about crypto, correct? So anyway, just that was a lot of like bully berry cautionary tale. I still believe that all this stuff is going to be worth a lot more in 5 years than it is now, but I believe that knowing wholeheartedly that zero is a possibility. So,
well, I don't think Bitcoin can go to zero, but we could continue to talk. But I actually think you can't.
I just want to make sure that like my voice was understood correctly. I'm very bullish on the crypto markets, and I obviously am invested. I do a show every week, I believe, but I have to keep the mentality that anything could happen, and oftentimes the price is completely out of my control. So what it is what it is.
Oftentimes.
Yeah.
Not always. Sometimes the price is out.
If you had millions, it might be in your control a little bit. You could like do some manipulation.
I meant more like when I decide to buy, when I decide to exit.
Yeah.
No. Of course.
All right, mailbag. Let's wrap this up.
Whoa. We skipped my other rant. Holy shit. I have one more.
Rant.
I have one more from our cryptocurrency. In fact, we do that Tuesday thing. I saw a big post there that really tilted me from the title of the post. It said, biggest decline in altcoin market cap was in 2014 at minus 86%. With a total duration of 266 days before a massive bounce. Today, we are sitting at a decline of minus 85% in 252 days. Hashtag 2 weeks. Hashtag 2 weeks? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh, all right, look. So I was ready to go in there and start yelling at everybody and be like, what is wrong with you? Why is this post like super upvoted? And I went in and I was proud of the R cryptocurrency community because every top comment was like, what? It was either a joke or it was like, dude, you have this is completely non-information. This has nothing to do with anything. That you cannot predict a cycle like that. What are you thinking? And I was like, yes, good job, everybody. I was proud of the community on that. And my favorite comment was definitely the top comment that said, so what you're saying is we're going to beat the record.
I like that.
Records are meant to be broken.
So yeah, don't buy into any of that like crap. This happens in fantasy football all the time too. Like these statistics that mean literally nothing. Correlation is not causation, or just like these two statistics taken in a vacuum mean absolutely nothing together. What happened in 2014 for 266 days has literally zero fuck all to do with what's happening today.
Yeah, but how many yards per carry did they get?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god. This was back in the days when I was following football a little closer, which, hey, I might start a little bit since the Bucs decided to score some touchdowns. But
don't tell him it was Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Oh, yeah, no, I know it was Ryan Fitzpatrick. Who cares? If he does it, I'm happy with it. As long as he's wearing a
trying to grow out his beard like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. But anyway, I used to hate the statistics that involved like when it wasn't even the same teams. Like somebody would be playing. I'm sure they still do this, but they're like, "Well, did you know that the Atlanta Falcons have never beaten the Chicago Bears in December in November when the temperature is like, bro, not a single player on that team
was on that
played those games are in either one of these teams. Not the coach, nobody. Why are you talking about something that happened in 1963? Like that is the dumbest shit
Even
ever.
stuff like historical like heads up matchups like does nothing for me, man. Like
yeah, like unless you're specifically talking about like it's currently active. Oh, Peyton Manning hasn't been able to score on the Patriots defense throughout his career. Okay, fine. So
in the last 3 matchups.
right. So Bill Belichick is owning Peyton Manning. Okay, that's specific. Don't tell me what happened to some coach that nobody on this team knows.
Karim's showing his football age right now.
Yeah, he's talking about Peyton Manning. He's like, wait, he's still playing, right? Hold on.
Yeah, right.
He's on Team Papa John's.
Yeah, he's in Colorado.
All right, so now I think we're heading to the mailbag section. Our buddy Cashman's showing up. He asked the question, what is the significance and origin of the .io at the end of all the crypto websites? My guess that I was going to post before Lumaflux gave a really excellent response in the Discord. By the way, if you want to join our Discord and get involved in the conversation, feel free to do so in the show notes or from our website, cryptobasicpodcast.com. My hypothesis, where I ungoogled hypothesis, was input-output as well as what Lumaflux decided. As I've dove into more computer tech sections, I find the phrase input-output coming up quite a bit. IOHK is obviously probably the one we're most familiar with, but the concept of computing involves a tremendous amount of input-output. So I believed that was accurate. I did not Google that, but that was also Lumaflux's response.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it stands for, and it's usually tech companies that are putting that on the end of their thing. So,
is it used outside of crypto much? 'Cause I haven't seen it personally.
Yeah, it's used outside of crypto all the time. Crypto adopted it from the tech world.
Cool.
And games
are using .gg a lot now.
Oh yeah,
fancy.
All right, that was a quick little question.
All right, other mailbag question from Hodl Fuel Junkie on Twitter.
My man.
How many cups/mugs of coffee do you drink per day?
Ooh.
I believe that Karim is the only one of us that
this
measures
all caffeine.
No, it's coffee. It's coffee.
Okay.
I believe Kareem's the only one of us that measures his coffee in mugs. Or I'm sorry, in no, it says coffee, Karim.
That was a troll.
I believe Karim measures his in pots of coffee versus cups or mugs. So, Mike, how many cups or mugs do you think you consume per day?
I average hold on. 20
average
ounce coffee.
range.
I have a 20 ounce coffee like twice a week. So I probably average about 40 ounces of coffee per week.
If you asked me this question last year, it would have been 0 because I didn't drink coffee. But I went like all the way, and now I've got like an espresso maker and like some other stuff. So
with a speaker on it.
Yeah, no, that's not the Nespresso one. But I did get a $20 K-Cup coffee machine that had a Bluetooth speaker built in. I didn't know it had the Bluetooth speaker built in until it showed up. That was awesome. So I would say 1 cup of coffee in the morning, and about 50% of the time I'll have one while I'm
meeting at what K-Cups? They're like, all right, guys, here's the thought. Let's put a speaker on it. Whoa,
that's the same thing as all the blockchain companies.
Problems.
They're like, okay, how about a coffee maker, but with a speaker? And everyone's like, oh, yeah, Bluetooth speaker, that's great. That's new tech. So that's like, how about we do this, but on blockchain? Yeah, it's the same thing. So yes, 1.5 would be about my average. If I go like do work at a coffee shop or something, I'll drink something when I'm there because I never just go sit and don't like buy a coffee. So, but generally just 1 cup in the morning, or 1 shot of espresso like this one.
Okay. I would say probably we measure in cups. I would say my average is 3.5 cups a day, maybe, and my range is like 1 to 7 cups.
Damn. And this is why we often have to take breaks while Karim runs to the bathroom and pees. What would you say your average morning amount of but before the
What's
hour
morning?
of 12 p.m., what is your average amount of peas in the morning?
What's your
3.5?
What's your total
3.5?
stream duration combined on average?
Whoa, these stream duration? I don't know, man. I have no clue.
Analytics, bro.
I probably pee 8 times a day for sure. 6 to 8 times a day.
All right.
So many.
Wow, that's a lot. All right, I got a couple other questions from. I threw up like a little a mailbag thing on Twitter at like 1 a.m. So
Yeah, I thought that was a good idea. I liked
most people
it.
didn't catch it, but we did hodl fuel junkie. Here, this one is clearly directed at Karim. Tokenomia has asked when Spanish fork. Crypto Basico podcast.
Si quieres saber cuándo empieza el show en español. No, I'm just kidding. No, I can't. I couldn't. I thought about this before because I was like, all right, first of all, the Spanish audience is way bigger. And second of all, I wouldn't have to deal with Mike and Brent. But then I remembered if it wasn't for Mike and Brent, there's no shot I could do this. So no fork. The Spanish version will come when Mike and Brent learn Spanish. Otherwise, there will be no Spanish fork.
Oh man!
So nunca.
Right. I'll be more than happy to translate my episodes and try my best to repeat them in Spanish. I am in totally.
The end result is the Spanish community is probably still really pissed off at Karim for the Monero thing when he took a real hard stand that Monero meant money.
Spanish reputation is in the bear market.
I've been getting hammered on Spanish Twitter and Spanish lips, and they've been like, they really felt betrayed.
For those that may not have listened to the Monero episode, during the Monero episode, I tried to tell Karim what Monero meant, and he's like, "No, Monero is Spanish for money. This isn't even close. I am a Spanish speaker, Brent."
Brent, I can't believe that you would question me, of all people, on this topic.
Yes. And then it turned out
Okay,
dinero is actually.
They're exaggerating, but this is more or less exactly what happened. They're not even exaggerating a little bit.
Because we always have to assume Brent's stories are probably 30% exaggerated, where mine are probably like 5 to 10. So like I felt like I was adding some credibility to that story.
Yeah, no. Listen, for sure. Brent's stories, normally you have to subtract a lot, but he's basically telling exactly what happened.
All right. So finally, this one is actually addressed to Karim. This one is Karim.
My favorite.
Karim, exclamation point, from Crypto Fan Dango. But Crypto Fan and then space Dango. Karim, can you talk about some of your favorite artists / artworks?
Talk about some of my favorite artists / artworks. So it could be, did it specify anything? Like
it specified artists / artworks.
Artists / artwork.
Wait, can I include beverages in this?
Yes. Art is a beverage. I don't know. Let's do this as a group. You guys want to go like different like genres, like music or what? Painting, books.
I'm assuming it's all art. I think that's what the question is. Do you have any favorite painters
movies
or
art?
Yeah, I'll shotgun. I'll go with Goddard, Michael Goddard. He's like an artist that paints a lot of like gambly stuff and like degenerate stuff into his paintings. So like a martini glass
gambly
with
stuff?
There'll always be like cards or dice or he's got a residency at Planet Hollywood in Vegas. His gallery is there, but like it's got like I don't know, like. The one that I have hanging in here, or actually I don't have it anymore. I had it at some point before I started like moving every 2 weeks. But it was a martini glass with like a little olive stripper going around the pole of the martini glass, and then a bunch of like other little martinis like throwing dollars at her, or little olives throwing dollars at the stripper. Even though I hate olives, but anyway, it's like whimsical, like gambly, degenerate art. It's kind of cool.
So I used to not be a huge fan of. I mean, I saw Van Gogh in school and stuff, and I thought it was cool, but I never particularly enjoyed it. But when we went to Amsterdam, we got to go to the Van Gogh Museum, and it was one of the coolest experiences I've had. It was really awesome. I think it made me like him a lot more. I also think Banksy's really cool. You know,
yeah,
like
Banksy's a good one.
For sure. For music, I really like electronic, EDM, and I really like house music. I'm a big fan of people like Clapton, or Baker Matt, if you've heard him, and authors dead Herman Hesse. I really like him. That's art.
Yeah, all right, I guess. I want to point out that I also went to the Van Gogh Museum, did not develop any more of an appreciation for him because I took fucking shrooms and freaked out and left the museum before I got to really experience anything. So
I also partook in the same activity and it enhanced it.
Brent, I'm
a little more responsible.
bad for you, man. I actually want to like hold your hand and take you back and make sure we can do it right next time.
I thought there were too many people and I had to leave.
Mike, before you answer, just to give you guys an idea, when we were there, because there's like all these museums in this park, it's like a little area and they're all connected. And it's Amsterdam, so the truffles are illegal. And we took some with the people we were with, and we were deciding which museum we wanted to go. And it was either going to be Van Gogh, but right across from it was a Dali Banksy exhibition.
Yeah, we
were like, oh. Yeah, but we're like, I don't really want to be doing that while I'm tripping.
It was like a pop-up exhibition?
No. It was like in a nice, I think it was a temporary exhibition in a settled place, but it looked awesome. But I don't know, man. That kind of art can tip you in the wrong direction.
So a couple of my answers, as far as artists, I can't swear this is suitable for work, but alexgray.com is somebody that I have a interest in owning some of the pictures or paintings at some point. That's one of the only artists that like has some stuff that I'm really interested in long term.
Oh yeah, I've seen this stuff before. Stuff.
Yes, if you're familiar with the band Tool, he was the one that created all their album covers and did a lot of stuff for them. But he's a very psychedelic, spiritual painter, which I'm a big fan of.
Let me tell you something. This is going to sound like I'm blowing smoke because of the podcast, but obviously I discovered Vesa because of the podcast, but his stuff is awesome. I really, really liked his stuff. We interviewed him on the show, and he's got this like cryptocurrency pseudo, like also like not pseudo, but slash spiritual thing, and he's got some older stuff with like color and the stuff he did with Vina Malik. It was really cool. I like his stuff a lot too.
Well, whenever we get a studio for the three of us, we'll make sure to put one of his paintings in there.
Yeah. Agreed.
I didn't. Karim expanded that to more to artists and stuff like that. Who was the dude that did the Satoshi Nakamoto song?
That's Grammatic.
Oh, Grammatic, yeah,
that was great.
Grammatic is great.
I'm seeing Grammatic at Halloween in October, so it's exciting.
Are you going for sure?
We got tickets in April.
Oh, nice. I really want to go, but we're doing California. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it off, but
you're actually considering going?
I mean, we want to, but it's just probably not going to happen just because we're going to California right before it. Another one of our good friends is going that I saw recently. So
I'm going to Tennessee a week before and doing a 40-mile hike for a few days. That's going to be really sweet. 3 days of hiking.
Fun.
I'm going with my personal trainer. We made a goal like 6 months ago and made a lot of progress. I'm real excited.
And since I didn't get to pick a music artist, Lindsey Sterling. She's awesome. I saw her and was like, that is cool. Like, I don't know who my favorite artist is of all time for music. I would never pick it, but she was just super interesting. And I started like,
never heard of this person. Who is this person?
Electric violinist. She's awesome. You've probably heard some of her music and didn't know it. If you heard like a really cool song that was all electric violin, but it sounded kind of like EDM-ish, it was probably her.
Oh, I like music.
Yeah, and she's sick. She does like ballet while she's playing violin. She's super talented.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else we want to cover here?
No, that was all the questions that I pulled out.
And Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland, because cartoons are art and Rick and Morty is the shit.
I mean, fine. Also,
Snap
Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
Yes, call. They're great artists.
South Park, Mike.
I really like their artistic style.
Yeah, I do. They created a character that's me. I love it.
Yeah, they literally made you into a digital thing.
Or you formed your personality around a character they created. We'll never know.
Oh, thanks. I came first. I was born before Eric Cartman was born.
Yeah, I mean, the body.
That's debatable.
Yeah. Who you are today, Brent, was that born before Cartman? I don't know.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for the Crypto Basic Podcast. My name was Mike. I was here with Brent and Karim. Thanks again for tuning in.
The members of the Crypto Basic Podcast are not financial advisors. They are also not high art advisors. They can't tell you how much your art is worth. However, if you would like us to appreciate your art, go ahead and send it to us on Discord, and we will make up a random price, just like the future price of Ethereum. Everything's low. Buy. Cheap compared to yesterday.
I like how you said we don't give financial advice, and then you said buy.
Yeah, no, I was just kidding.